How's it going, Star Seekers? My name's GotCake and welcome back to the channel. Today I have a true treat for you all as we're going to be taking a look at a game called The Last Dead End, which originally released on Steam but is due to release on Nintendo Switch and other consoles in just a few days. Now the eShop description advertises this game as an adventure game with elements of first-person shooter and horror. It sees you playing as a young scientist named Farhad Novruzov, who has returned to his home city of Baku to help with a documentary. But things take a strange turn and he must seek out answers, exploring real-life locations, ancient ruins and a creepy alternative dark dimension. Now usually at this point I speculate as to whether the game is worth a purchase, but I'm gonna straight up come out and say right now, I wouldn't advise buying this game on the Nintendo Switch. If you wanna know why, keep on watching. So hitting the game's main menu, we have two game modes available to us and we'll get into survival a bit later on. For now though, let's take a look at what you can expect in the opening hours of the main campaign, which will contain some minor spoilers, but you're really going to want to see them. Upon starting the main campaign, The Last Dead End opens with a strange introductory sequence where we wander through some dimly lit streets, and right away the awful resolution and popping of textures caught my attention. Now at this point you don't yet have a torch, so the visuals are as dark as Guinness beer shit, so you're going to want to whack up that gamma slider to max for what little help it does. So we wander through these empty streets for a bit, answer a ringing phone that isn't even connected, and then get sucker punched by some crazy bitch before a fat baby head rolls into shot and tries to kiss us. After picking ourselves up, we do a bit more wandering round before once again meeting the crazy bitch who really needs her nails trimming, and she goes Super Saiyan on us, launching us into limbo. We then wake up from what appears to have been a nightmare in a bit of a sweaty mess. Following this, our main man Farhad takes a trip to the old city of Baku, and after doing a spot of sightseeing, he makes his way to the old city's administration building where the game begins for real. Now when we enter this place, a nearby security guard with no eyeballs doesn't even bother to greet us, so we're left to try and make our own way to the conference room on the second floor. Other than a marker indicating the location of the conference room though, we don't get any directions on how to get there, so I literally spent about 20 minutes wandering around the place trying to find my way up there. During my search for a stairway, I took a look at some of the building's beautiful artwork and a map of Play-Doh land, and I found that almost every corridor was blocked by wet floor signs and 90% of the doors didn't open. I eventually found one door which opened into an office area containing the sum total of fuck all, apart from some posters featuring more horrendously low textures. I then opened what had to be the very last door on this floor, behind which I found a stairwell leading to the second floor and conference room, and upon entering I experienced my first cutscene, which I have to say was even worse than I expected. Not only did our main protagonist sound like some sort of creepy Microsoft Sam impersonator,
"Hello, Bahar."
The sentences spoken by each character didn't match the on-screen subtitles, they were often cut off halfway through. And as with most of the dialogue that I've experienced in the game, a lot of the sentences didn't actually make sense. I also noted that Bahar didn't appear to have any eyelids, and that the game's music restarted almost every time someone spoke or the camera angle changed. Anyway, the story continues and Bahar lends us a book which only appears to contain blank pages, however Farhad is able to see some strange text in it. Before heading off to an excavation site where the book was found, Bahar also gives us a handy flashlight to help us see in the dark, and Five Heads pops on a pair of special augmented reality specs, which are used in game to display our vitals, highlight pickups, and translate the ancient languages we find scrawled on walls. The game has an encyclopedia that we can access from the pause menu, and this contains detailed information on the locations we visit and the characters we meet. Now The Last Dead End is sort of split into two separate styles of gameplay, which I'll define as the Light World gameplay and the Dark World gameplay. Light World gameplay is generally experienced from a third person perspective, as you make your way through various city locations to progress the storyline. In this first area I had to find my way through the streets of Baku, which once again featured many dead ends and roadblocks, giving it a maze-like quality that you'll get to joyfully experience time and time again. As before, the streets of Baku were rife with the abysmal texture pop-ins that I'd now come to expect. The residents of the city consisted of only a couple of female NPC types who wandered around aimlessly, often next to identical NPCs like they were twins, and a few male NPCs who stood tending to stores or guarding entrances, all of which were sporting a vacant expression and pootash combo. Back to the story then, we eventually make our way to the ruins, and though we're rudely assaulted by a couple of ravens to rave music, and fall into a well which transports us into the Dark World. Now, Dark World gameplay is usually experienced from a first person perspective, and once more we wind up in the dimly lit streets which we need to find a way out of. Utilising our newly procured torch, we keep the darkness at bay as we trope through more maze-like streets, and the game does attempt a bit of survival horror here, but sadly it falls a bit flat, mainly due to how predictable it is and the terrible visual fidelity. Throughout my time in this dark world, I got squished by some moving walls and had to restart from a checkpoint, got chinned in the face by a brass cockney looking fella, smelled some hand-shaped roses surrounded by pixelated fire from the original Doom games, and got screamed at when I tried to creep up on a Dark World version of Bahar. After finding my first melee weapon, a dwarven battle axe of all things, I then encountered my first quicktime event against some hooded fella which consisted of a single button press. Now there are other quicktime events in the game which are a little bit more complex, like here where this fat one-eyed baby throws a strop and chases me down the street, launching cars and punching walls to pieces. After narrowly avoiding becoming baby food, we managed to find the exit well and hop into it, popping out the other end like some sort of Mad Mario back into the light world. Now it's probably not even worth noting at this point, but this next area has some more lovely texture pop-in, and a little bit of frame rate hell for good measure when some crates get the better of the Nintendo Switch processing power. And so this is how I presume the rest of the game goes. We use the wells to travel between the light and dark worlds trying to stop the apocalypse. Or did I forget to mention that part? Yeah, so not long after exiting the first well, we have to make our way through some more maze-like streets before coming up on a backgammon game. It's at this point that our main man decides that he's the chosen one who must stop the apocalypse, but he comes to this conclusion in the most tenuous way possible. Just watch and tell me if it makes any sense to you.
Has the book mentioned an ancient game? The day after tomorrow is the 21st of December, date of doomsday according to the calendar of the Maya. Date of the apocalypse. Scientists said that the 21st book of Avesta, which was not found, is the book of the apocalypse. Is it really in my hands? My congratulations, Bahar. Seems your wedding is cancelled.
Now, following this eureka moment, Farhad decides he needs to find another well, and indeed does in an underground passage, opening it with a conveniently placed key he found on a nearby picnic bench. As this second Dark World area, known as the Catacombs, was loading though, my game crashed, and upon trying to load it up again from the main menu, it just constantly crashed. Luckily, I was able to use the game's level select to get into the catacombs, where I found more of the same darkness, shitty textures and maze-like rooms and corridors, but I also managed to get myself a pistol which I used to fend off several snakes which hissed their way towards me, and some zombie-like creatures who charged at me, or at least tried to charge, sometimes, though this guy appeared to be really fed up and couldn't even be bothered to eat my face. Now I did get a bit bored of fighting them though and tried to run past them, but they caught up with me and fluster-clucked me to death. The game then crashed again and once more refused to load my save file, and there was no way I was starting the catacombs again, so that's as far as my story mode experience went. So next I decided to check out survival mode, which allows you to play 3 different survival modes on 5 different maps, though only one map is unlocked to start with, and I believe you have to play and complete wave survival mode on a map to unlock the next map. Heading into the abandoned library map, I found myself in the admin building, and after beginning my first wave I was swarmed by snakes and zombies which I skillfully put down with shots from my pistol. Unfortunately though, the AI is just as bad in survival mode as it is in campaign, and I had to actually go out of my way to hunt down zombies who were stuck inside rooms, and others who started going absolutely apeshit and couldn't make their way around simple obstacles. Now after completing the 3rd wave in this map, I was then dropped straight into the ancient catacomb survival map, where the game's frame rate literally shat its pants. Unlike story mode, it seemed like the developers forgot to reduce the texture resolutions and pixelate those realistic flame effects. This meant that the game literally became unplayable, so I didn't actually get to test out the other survival maps. I did, however, test out the survive for as long as possible survival mode, where I made my way to a secluded corner, killed one zombie who found my hiding spot, and then waited for 10 minutes without seeing another enemy before calling it a day. I did go on the hunt for an enemy to try and get myself killed, but I couldn't actually find one, so eventually I just had to quit out. So what can I say about The Last Dead End that I haven't already said? Well, to start with, I think the game's potentially a bit better if you play it on another console or on Steam. And this actually brings me to my final points on the game, where I'd like to make a comparison between the eShop's trailer and screenshots, which are undoubtedly taken from the Steam version, and the reality of what you can expect in-game. Here we have one eShop screenshot, and this is how it compares to the in-game Nintendo Switch screenshot. Here's another eShop screenshot, and here's another Switch version. And to top it all off, here's a couple of segments as seen in the eShop's trailer, and here is the Switch version of those same sections. So as you can see, there's blatantly a bit of deception going on here, and if you're still considering buying the game after all you've seen in this review, then the only thing I've got left to say to you, sir, is good day. So now let's get straight on to rating the game. Now I rate games between 1 and 5 stars, with a shovelware stamp of approval reserved for the worst games on the eShop. This rating is based on my own personal opinion on the quality and quantity of a title's gameplay, and whether I think it offers value for money to potential buyers. Now while I didn't get to play a lot of The Last Dead End due to its bugs, what I did see of the game was dreadful in both its gameplay, visuals and audio, and so I'm gonna have to rate The Last Dead End 1 out of 5 stars. I suggest you steer clear of this one, at least on the Nintendo Switch, but if you really want to play it, The Last Dead End releases on the 24th of December, and you can pick it up from the UK Switch eShop for £8.99, or from the US eShop for $9.99. Alternatively, the game's also coming to PlayStation and Xbox and can be played right now on Steam. Well, that just about wraps up this review of The Last Dead End, so hit that like button if it helped you out. Don't forget to subscribe for future Switch reviews and content, and let me know your own thoughts and opinions on the game in this review in the comments section below. For now though, I just want to thank you all once again for watching, and until next time, take care of yourselves and game on.